And welcome to episode 16 of the 5 Year Career Podcast. Today's topic is a very exciting one. We're going to be talking about conducting webinars that work. And this is actually part two. If you missed last week's, remember to go to our YouTube page and make sure that you catch up on episode or part one of this broadcast. Today's part two of a two-part podcast on conducting webinars that work. And let me just tell you from my own real life experience, and you'll hear a couple of other testimonials in today's podcast, that these things work. As simple and as old-fashioned as they may sound, I'm going to tell you that they work like a charm. And we're going to tell you a bunch of reasons why not only do they work, but why they will work for you. So today we're going to look into the real world examples of what's happening right now. And make sure that you have pen and pencil ready, take some good notes. And imagine if you can, for example, starting a real estate business, even if you're brand new, that in 5 short years will pay you abundantly for the rest of your life. Now, I know it sounds like hype, but it's true. Welcome to the 5 Year Career Podcast, a virtual seminar in every episode. In the next 30 minutes, we're going to show you and help you to understand how, number one, why you should do webinars. Number two, low-cost exclusive leads. And I'm not talking about the Zillow and all these other lead people that are constantly calling and texting you right now, telling you that they're free if you pay them an upfront fee. And listen, I may be more of an outgoing person, but maybe you're not an outgoing person. You can still succeed with webinars. And there's a number of different ways to do webinars. So if you're saying to yourself, stop. If you're saying to yourself, I suck on camera, what can I do? I'm going to show you exactly what you can do. After all, isn't that what we all want, right? Today we're going to cover all of this and more. But first, let me introduce our team. First of all, here on the screen with me and monitoring the electronics from the back, Mr. Patrick Butler. Good morning, Patrick.
Good morning, Eric, Skip. Good morning, everybody that's live with us. And good morning to all of you out there in podcast land.
And speaking about Skip, also here on the screen with us is my good friend, partner, and longtime business associate, Mr. Skip Wiley. And let's get right into it. Let's just dive straight into it. Why webinars in the first place? And I'm going to just tell you one quick sentence. One to many. In 1 hour or half hour, however long you decide to make your webinar, a 1 hour webinar with 30 attendees, you're going to have 29 hours of one-on-one meetings plus one, right? So you can do it from the comfort of your own home. You got technology today that is so simple. It's literally push button easy, color by the numbers. And it allows you also, which imagine having to do this with Post-it notes and yellow pads, the ability to track, to nurture, and close leads through automation. Now, there's ongoing programs behind the scenes that automate the process of following up. So you look more professional, you are going to capture more leads, and we're going to show you how you're a pro and what gets people like you to look like a pro and gets people to like you, to trust you, and that's when they want to do business with you. So let's talk about that. Now, oh, by the way, one of the biggest things you hear about all the time, everywhere, is content, right? And you're wondering, like, where am I going to come up with new content? For me, on my radio show, people ask me that all the time. But by doing this actively, you'll create more content than you'll know what to do with or that you ever thought possible. So what do you think about that, Patrick?
I think that's great, Eric. And one of the things that Skip asked us to do on today's call, we're going to make this a little bit multimedia. So before we dig into our own variation on this, Skip was researching, as he does very well, some marketing sites. And one of his gurus, if you will, who charges thousands of dollars to do what we do for virtually nothing, had a testimonial. And Skip, I'm going to play the testimonial per your request.
Right.
The young lady, brand new to the business from, I want to say Arkansas, and she describes her results from her very first seminar. And the reason why we're going to play this first is we're going to talk about not only that, but how it relates to our experiences in real life. So without any further ado, let me go ahead and share this particular just 1 minute of a rather lengthy video.
Yeah,
All right.
but this is in the voice of somebody else, not even us.
Yep,
So
here we go.
it's not just us saying it.
One webinar, I went through all of like the one-on-one trainings with Yaman, and he walked me through everything, taught me how to set up my marketing, and walked me through all the Facebook ads. Told me how I never ever hosted a Zoom meeting before. Never. I have attended them, but I've never like held one-on-one. So I was really nervous, and I kept telling them, I'm so nervous. I've never held a webinar. And anyways, we had 100, and I think the number fluctuated between, it was either 196 or 199 that ended up being registered for our first webinar. And out of that, we had between 78 and 81 people actually on the webinar throughout the entire process of it. And the way that we did it, we modeled it after you guys. We did our question and answer session at the end. And so when we got to the question and answer session, we told them, this is the end of the webinar, but we're going to open it up for questions. We still had another, there was 46 people on it, an hour and a half after the beginning of the webinar. So the webinar itself lasted about 45, 50 minutes. And then we had like 40 minutes of questions, and they were so engaged, and they were asking questions for me and both the mortgage lender. And so we just kind of stayed on until everybody's questions were answered. And then we had 18 appointments booked. So
Nice.
Okay. That is perfect for the purpose of our discussion. So 199 registered. I've held webinars before. I've had as few as a handful. But I will tell you, the most I've ever had on a webinar was almost 300 people. This was for our bankruptcy business. So those numbers are not out of line. She had 78 in attendance. So that's about half of the registrations, a little bit less. There's probably something there that she could have worked on better, but probably good, because how do you work with 199 people if they're real estate customers, right? We're going to talk about that in a minute. And then lastly, she had 40 additional minutes of Q&A. I'd like to talk a little bit about that too, because in a way, that's an opportunity to close for appointments, right? If they've got all those questions, it's okay to answer, but you don't want to stay on for 7 hours. But the people that are asking those questions, that group are your gold. Those are the ones that are absolutely looking for answers to today's question. So that's my opinion.
There's two benefits when you think about that, Patrick. Number one is that now you identify who that message resonates with, right? So here's a process. Think about this. All this is happening within 30 to 60 minutes, okay? 199. How long would it take for you to pick up the phone and call and introduce yourself to 199 people, okay? It would take you forever. So the time savings is worth gold, and the money all by itself. And just a little bit of an expectation, you have to expect that about half the people that you invite, and to any given thing, even to a birthday party, you invite a bunch of people, and a lot of people don't show up. So, she was very smart to take into stride the fact that she invited all these people, and the bigger the list, the better, right? But then you're going to start to see how it resonates. And this is what we're going to be talking about as we teach and instruct this stuff. But not only does that Q&A allow you to identify who that resonates with, but you always want, just give me a chance to show you what I know. Give me a chance for me to demonstrate my knowledge and my experience. And the Q&A is exactly that. It's her opportunity to answer those questions and to become the de facto. Everyone is now eyes on you, looking at you as the expert.
Absolutely. Skip, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, let me paint a different story, but an awesome story, which is my story. I moved from a big city environment to a small city. Different people here than where I came from. And I decided after a year and a half of living here that I wanted to go back to work. And I decided I was going to focus my efforts on webinars. Why webinars? Because of all the reasons you guys just outlined. I can do it from my home. I don't have to spend a ton of money. I can generate leads. And when I generate leads, people get trust and confidence in me. For some reason, they actually like me. And the webinar allows me to build the relationship with that person long before I actually meet them. An interesting point, anybody who attends that webinar, I can pick up the phone and call them and they know who I am. You know, if you buy a list of leads from Zillow or any of these companies and you start dialing, nobody knows me. The conversation is entirely different. So in
If they even pick up.
yeah, if they pick up. In my recent experience, we've held 3 webinars. We spent $700 to promote those 3 webinars. We have 1 closed transaction, which generated a $10,000 commission. We have another one under contract and pre-approved and ready to close in the month of June. And we have another person that we are in the process of approving. I've shown 2 properties to them. They're ready to write the contract now. So if you add those other 2 transactions for $700, I was able to generate 10,000 plus probably another, because they're smaller transactions, another $10,000 for a $700 investment. And
So
to me, what's that?
What if you don't have the $700 in your pocket? Do you have
Oh
to
my
wait
God, that's
your
the
whole
easiest
webinar?
thing to do. Let me, okay, let me,
Hey,
let me
before
tell
you
you
go
a
into that,
strategy. What's
before you
that?
go into that, I just wanted to throw one other little piece because of that recent testimonial by that young lady. You know, she's talking about, you know, dozens, you know, over 100 invitations and everything. Not too long ago, Skip and I, when we developed a new webinar, and what we did is that we didn't really advertise it. We didn't spend any money, in fact, that time for that webinar. We just sent out a couple of invitations, and we got how many
3.
responses? 3 responses. 3 people registered for that webinar. And Skip and I, because it was a brand new webinar, we said, listen, let's do it anyway. Okay, here's an important lesson coming up. And Skip and I said, yeah, let's do a dry run. Let's rehearse the webinar so that when we do the advertising, you know, we'll be able to fill it, pack it, and do a really good job. Well, those 3 people who registered showed up. Okay, and when at the end of the webinar, what that closing came from those 3 people.
Right.
So don't worry about the low numbers. It may even start low, right? And depends on, you know, Patrick was asking about the budget, but we're going to talk about, you know, the concept of OPM as well when it comes to this. But even without a budget, no budget whatsoever, this works.
Yep.
Hey, but Eric, you do not know this. The other 2 people that were on that first call are both the 2 people I just spoke about a minute ago. One is under contract, and the other one is the one that we talked to the other day, who's ready to go under contract. 3 out of 3 from a webinar that we didn't spend a dime on. Pretty amazing.
You got to do the disclaimer, you know, these results are not typical.
Yeah. Who cares about disclaimers? I just care about one thing, and it's the only thing that matters in business.
Yeah, and
we're
not going to spend mountains of time on strategies, which we'll probably do another podcast on. But if you're wondering what to send to your sphere of influence on a regular basis, is it recipes for cookies? Is it flowers at the beginning of spring? Seeds to grow their business? No, send them invitations to educational seminars. Whether they attend or not is irrelevant. You're putting yourself out there as an expert with a topic that's relevant in today's marketplace. They may know somebody that needs that information, and that's a great way to stay in touch. And if you do them every month, problem solved with marketing to your sphere of influence.
Yeah, and there's 4 different types of webinars that we're going to continuously promote and run. First-time home buyers, new construction, investors, and one of my favorite that we're in the process of developing that will be one of our most successful webinars is affinity marketing. We do have a do it for you program.
So it looks like Skip just disappeared into outer space, but here's the
Yeah,
bottom
that
line, right?
happens.
Funny,
Here's
his
the
name
bottom
is
line,
Skip,
right?
isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, there he's back.
Yeah, so go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, so the bottom line, because I want to give you a concrete picture of what we're talking about, right? We talked about actual results. These are not theories, these are not, theory. In on average, the average webinar to really do it right costs around $300 to run. And that's all for the Facebook advertising. If you have other sources, if you already have lists, by the way, your phone is a huge list already of free contacts. But this was for Facebook advertising. And you really should have a business page in your business for you to run this ad. And now the system creates the ads. It runs ads on Facebook 6 days in advance. And then Facebook already has all this stuff set up. Okay. So once we show you how to do it the first time, you can do it every time. And then Facebook uses up that $300 as people click on it, and then they register for the webinar. They go into an automated system which keeps reminding them. So once the consumer clicks on the ad, they enter their name, you get their name, their email, their phone number, you're golden, which triggers the automated funnel actions, and done. That's it. Now you just got to show up and perform.
Yeah,
and the funnel.
and it's so easy to do. And I will tell you, I registered for the last one and I had forgotten the automation, and Skip is sending me, hey, don't forget, we've got a webinar coming up tomorrow. I'm like, yeah, I know, Skip. I registered for it, and not realizing it was the system sending me stuff.
Yep.
And then,
And
if
they
you
don't
show
know.
up,
And
it even reminds
it's
you that you did.
responsive.
Yeah.
What was that, Pat?
P.S. These systems are getting better now, more and more with AI. It's gonna be feeling more and more like you're having an actual conversation with Skip. And meanwhile, Skip's out showing properties.
Exactly. Or playing golf.
Or going to the beach.
Because he's
And those
mastering
messages, they
5 years.
include thank you for registering. So it's very professional. Reminders days out, the day before, the day of, 15 minutes before, and even after. Let's say the part of the number of the people who didn't attend, it acknowledges, hey, we missed you, right? But don't worry, we've got another one coming up, and it's going to remind them of the upcoming webinars. How many times have you followed up that way with your clients? And these people stay in this forever loop. So instead of, how many times have you bought lists, did something with it, forgot about it, it got lost, you went and bought another list, did something, forgot about the rest. And then, if you were to think back about how many names you may have had in your life versus how many names are right now in your address book, that alone will tell you about the follow-up. And so forever until they opt out. So let's talk about this. What if you're still saying, Patrick, Skip, I'm nervous in front of people. You can say that it's no big deal, and I'm by myself in my house and there's no big audience. Or maybe I'm not a good speaker. I'm afraid that I stutter, or just, I just start sweating when I think people are watching. If you're not a great speaker, here's my answer. Who cares, right? Use our services, use your services, use your team members. You can have maybe somebody on your team speak. Here's the bottom line. Even if you mess up, people love authenticity. They appreciate, right? And they go like, wow, heck, Skip can do it, I can do it.
Eric,
Absolutely.
we did a live meeting, the three of us, last summer, I guess it was. And I'm not going to mention his name because this particular gentleman, one of the, if not the top producing realtor at eXp Realty, does 1,000 transactions a year, says, look, I'm not really good on stage. And so I get nervous. And so we created in his piece, an interview, and I asked some questions, he answered them. And you wouldn't have known the reason why we did the interview was because he was nervous and would have lost his train of thought. It just added a different level because they were presentations, and then we had the interview with him, and the interview was great, and he answered the question. So to Eric's point, you might not be that public facing person, but you want to be at least noticed on the webinar, especially if your sphere of influence is going to be watching it. So yeah, just be there as an expert, and have the moderator, as we do on these meetings. You'll see each week, each one of us moderates differently, prompt you for your question. So that's okay. And yes, there's always somebody out there who loves to get up in front of a group and speak, so they can run the show. and still deliver the content.
Yep.
Great. Yep. All right.
So let's talk about building an audience.
Yes.
You know, because what if someone says, well, I'm brand new, I'm just starting out, I don't have that big giant list, you know, I'm switching careers and I don't have that list. People don't know me. So let's talk about some of the easy ones, okay? The one everybody knows about, the one that's most viral, right? Social media. You know, it's very easy to set up, you know, a Facebook page for your real estate business and then just start putting some of this content. And P.S., putting up that I'm going to host an event, and anyone interested in attending my free online event. You know, I always kid around people, come to the event, come in your footsie pajamas. You can come any way you want. You don't have to get in your car, face traffic, in the comfort of your own home. Be a fly on the wall, but learn how to take, you know, for example, our fearless first-time home buyers. You know, we said, listen, we're going to take the fear. We're going to eliminate every obstacle that there is out there. When you're done and you have us as your team, notice the little sales there, and you have us as your team, you'll be a fearless home buyer and you won't make the most common mistakes, because we're going to put our 50 plus years, our 5 years plus experience, or, you know, I'm going to put my team, my company, my whatever that you want to use to give yourself the credibility. Of course, the sphere of influence, don't ignore it. Often we shortchange ourselves. We under credit ourselves with the respect. People already know, like, and trust us. When they see that you're going into a new career, for example, many of them want to support you and they want to help you out. Because they already know, like, and trust you. So don't underestimate your sphere of influence. Don't be a secret agent, right? Let them know what you're doing. Next, you know, Skip talked about this affinity marketing. You know, we've got here on our YouTube page, we got a whole show just dedicated to affinity marketing. And when we approach it from many different times, it's such a valuable way. Don't ignore where you work, or where you used to work, or where your spouse works, or where one of your friends work. There's a multiple of entrances to groups. Remember, just the same way we're talking about one-to-many in the webinar, think about one-to-hundreds in an employment environment, in a membership environment, you know, associations, clubs, and other social things that you do.
Indeed. So Skip also shared with us some sample flyers, collateral material. So I'm going to go ahead and share those as well, if that's okay.
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's go ahead and take a look at that. Some simple stuff. And by the way, Skip, you made an offer, which I thought was very cool. Anybody that's on this podcast today or listening in the future, if you would like a personalized version of any of these things, they're available. Skip's got a system in place. Skip, is there a nominal cost for that to produce these things?
Yeah, I set up an arrangement with UPS so that if you like the flyers that we're about to show you and you want them personalized, and I'm going to tell you how I used them yesterday. I think it's amazing how easy it is to promote if you really think about it and you take some steps to execute. But this particular flyer right here is now hanging in 3 restaurants close to where I live. They happen to have bulletin boards in there. So I walked in, I said, listen, I've got a flyer I'd like to post. Can I post it over there on that bulletin board with the rest of them? They said, yes. That flyer right there is a working flyer. And if you're in a busy restaurant, and this is big, it's bold, it's 8.5 by 11, but you can personalize this for you. You'll have your own personal QR code. So you can invite people to any one of the webinars that Patrick, Eric, and I are going to do. And we intend to do a minimum of 20 webinars over the next 12 months. And this particular flyer is an effective flyer that will get people to register for our next event. They may pick up the phone and call you, by the way.
Yeah, and you know, for guerrilla marketing perspectives, we've talked about this, but you know, at Home Depot, you can get those little flimsy signs. They're corrugated plastic with a little metal stand, and they're blank. So you can print one of these puppies up and tape it to it. Imagine on a Friday afternoon, the week before your webinar, sticking that outside of a busy apartment complex where people are lined up coming in the gate. And while they're sitting there waiting for the car in front of them, they look at that and they take their camera and shoot the QR code, and bam, all of a sudden they're in the queue for a registration. And you know, that's That's cheap, that's easy, and you can then pinpoint the locations. If you've got properties, for example, that you want to sell, or if you're going on a listing appointment, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, one of the things I do differently than other realtors in the area is I communicate with a lot of people about today's needs in real estate, and I'm conducting a webinar, and look what I'm going to do for your home in the next week. Powerful stuff.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
think those are real solid. There's another flyer too, Patrick. Do you have that other flyer?
Yes.
Yeah, this one's a little bit different. And if you wanted to use this as a clearly an effective way to go after tenants, that's what this flyer was designed for. It basically says if you're paying $1,875 as a tenant, that'll buy you a home with 0 to 3.5% down. You don't have to, that message is clear. That's a person, if they've ever thought about buying, is going to click on that QR code. They're going to register for the webinar. Patrick,
And by the
are you
way,
able to
that
click
flyer,
on that
which
and
is,
maybe show people how easy it is?
Yes, I will.
and that flyer, by the way, looks like an excellent postcard. So you can have them printed as a 8.5 by 11 sheet to distribute it in a complex, or as postcards. And there's so many deals out there, really nice quality, glossy. You can get like 5,000 for $100. And and then you have those to hang out, leave them at places, the dry cleaners. You'll be surprised, especially if you start doing these webinars on a regular basis. And then all you're doing is you're sending people to that page that you see right there on the screen. And all they have to do, if the topic is interesting, they see the date, the time, they put in their name, their email address, their phone number. And once they click send, ladies and gentlemen, automation takes over.
Which I just did. And so then you're registered for the free class. You can invite a friend if you want to. Then it gives you a little bit more information. And I am pretty sure I will be getting a text notification momentarily that I've been registered. But yeah, how simple is that? Super easy. It doesn't require anything else, but now you've captured name, phone number, email address. You've got an opted-in customer that you can market to for the rest of your real estate life. And that's very powerful stuff.
Hey, I want to tell you one funny story about the signs that you were talking about. One of my students was just starting out, low budget and everything. And what they did, you talk about the corrugated signs that you buy at Home Depot. Well, he didn't even have the money for that, right? He was really starting out on a shoestring. So he went to every Kmart and Walmart and he got the cardboard boxes, right, that they throw out in the back, right? And so he got the big ones and he would cut those pieces out. It was actually she invited a couple of her friends over for with a bottle of wine, and with a marker, they wrote up like 100 signs that says, we buy houses, etc. Got wooden stakes, for super cheap at Home Depot, and then put those signs all around town, and the phone rang off the hook. And that's how she got started. So literally
I've got an interesting idea. So I don't know about you guys, but in my daily travels, particularly in my neighborhood, on busy corners, there's always that guy or lady that's hanging out there collecting money, right? Wouldn't it be cool to have that same thing that would say at the top of it, don't be like me, and pay them $50 or whatever to have that sign out there and maybe hand out some flyers. Don't be like me. Start your home buying process today. Our friends will show you how.
One of the things, guys, that I will have done by the end of this week, actually today, is a yellow and black sign that says "Fire your landlord," and it will have a huge QR code. That's the only two things that are on it. It will say free webinar on the bottom of it, but the QR code is going to be big and bold. So places like apartment complexes or places like where people have to stop for a red light, you can put those up and people will click on them. There are a lot of people out there that want to, I read an article not too long ago. It said there's always 30% of the people in the marketplace that want to buy. Many of them have postponed that decision because they believe it's a bad time to buy because of higher interest rates. Yep. That's BS, by the way. It's the best time to buy when rates are higher because you have less competition for properties and sellers are negotiating and doing things today that they would never do in 2021 and 2022. It's a great time to buy. And even interest rates are temporary. Price is really the most important thing.
I heard a great tagline. It's date the rate, marry the house. You can
Amen.
always change your interest rate down the road when things change. And, you know, a year at a higher interest rate is not life threatening, right? So you can always refinance or do whatever.
You know, a shameless plug for my radio show. This morning on the show, I like to start out the show a lot of times with a "Did you know?" question. And this one here, okay, this comes from a study. Did you know that rising inflation can actually make home ownership more affordable in the long run? While rising interest rates may initially impact monthly payments, home prices tend to rise alongside and beat inflation. Owning a home protects you from the future rent increases tied to inflation and offers you the potential for equity growth and keeps pace with inflation. Imagine sending a quick little email to a bunch of renters, to a bunch of people. Did you know, by the way, attend my free webinar this Tuesday. It's just these little nuggets of value is what gets people interested. And all you need to do is pique their interest enough to come check it out. I'm telling you, let's talk about this. You know, we have a done for you component to our programs as well, right? Because we know as much as we can simplify this and give you the coloring book with the color by the numbers, most people, you know, they postpone it. They constantly polish the bowling ball and never throw it. What we're going to do is we're going to put together a program where you don't need to do the webinars yourself. We've already got them made for you. Imagine if we made you the featured speaker, but Skip and I introduced you just like you were a rock star in your market. And we did everything, the automation, the marketing, the everything. All you had to do was show up. If I could give you a purchase-ready, pre-approved buyer that would pay you a referral fee for that, would that pique your interest? I ask you. Now imagine that if you started telling now to your, you know, your sphere, right? Because as a realtor, we have mortgage brokers, we have title companies, we have insurance people who are all wanting the exact same client for different reasons, and they will team up with you. And then you ask them, if I could give you a purchase-ready, pre-approved buyer, would you pay a referral fee? Would you want to join my team and help underwrite what we're doing? Okay. So any last comments as we bring this to a close? I think we can't make it any easier. We showed you how to do it, but we also showed you that we'll do it for you.
Yeah, I actually have a vivid picture of what you just described. Imagine in a year you do 20 webinars, 20, one every 20 days in a year. And you spend a couple $100 out of your own pocket. That's $2,400 a year. But then we help you go out and get partners so that together, all of you are spending $500 for each of those webinars. The average number of attendees at most of these webinars are 25 to 35 people. Just let's take the low end, 25 people. So annually, you're going to have 450 to 700 people that will have attended these 20 webinars. And a bottom line is 10% of the, let's use the conservative number, 450 people, 10% of those people are going to get pre-approved, 45 people. And those 45 people are the customers that are going to buy. And my math after doing this for years and years is 25% of those pre-approvals will buy a home from me. That's 11 transactions a year, $10,000 commission, $110,000 in gross commission for an investment of $200 a month. Plus, if we're going to do it for you, we're going to hand you a buyer pre-approved with a 20% referral fee. Folks, I will do that all day long.
I'll give you another angle on that too, Skip. And if you took half of those webinars and said, you know what, I don't want to work with that many buyers, and you replace it with thinking of selling your home in 2024, what every seller needs to know today.
Yep.
Boom. Now you're talking the same numbers, but now with listing opportunities and building a team. If you've got more customers than you can handle, guess what you need? a team. So the easiest way to recruit people into your team is to give them transactions to work on. So, there's
And
lots.
so to give you a little bit of a sneak peek as well, now even thinking forward, that's excellent, Patrick, just to see, like, we're just giving you the launch pad right now, where you can go with this. Imagine, for those of you who maybe don't love driving clients around all day long, and you want to get it to the point, right? Patrick, he'll tell you that right up front. And what you imagine, if you did the webinars, you collected the buyers, and then you handed it out to your favorite realtors, your team that is building that. Now, this is how you build a 5-year career, because this income, if you get good at doing these webinars and you get good at bringing in, the hardest part most people find is in getting the leads, right? We're not talking about leads. We're talking about pre-approved, pre-qualified buyers, ready, willing, and able, raised their hand, showed up to your webinar, got trained, got approved, and now are ready to buy. And then imagine if all you did was you just kept distributing these people. You sat at home like Skip does, all day long, enjoying, and when he's not golfing, right? But you sit at home doing these webinars, building your team, and pretty soon now you can spend more quality time with your family, more quality time on the golf course. And that's how you build a 5-year career. I want to thank all of my team that's right here on this webinar right here. Thank you, Patrick. Just bouncing the ideas with you and with Skip. Thank you for, adding color to what we're doing here. Thank you so much for the information on conducting webinars that work. On my behalf, as well as my team, thank you so much for joining us on the 5-Year Career Podcast. We hope that you enjoyed today's episode. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to subscribe right here down below. Give us a rating, give us a thumbs up, a thumbs down, make a comment, leave a review, please. That's what helps us to, direct where we're going to go next with our workshops and everything else. Your feedback does mean the world to us. By the way, if you want to get, some of the material, text the word webinar for today's webinar. Text the word webinar to 561-861-2366. Once again, text the word webinar to 561-861-2366. We're going to send you, number one, a free invitation to our next webinar. Come watch us actually do the webinar. Be a fly on the wall. See what we do. Take us for a test drive. Again, text the word webinar to 561-861-2366. And stay tuned for more exciting content coming up as each week we drop another golden bomb here on our upcoming episodes. Follow us on YouTube for the behind the scenes updates and, of course, a few sneak peeks. Again, thank you all. Have a great way. Bye-bye.
Everybody.
Bye.